We're all familiar with some of the more mainstream mythical beasts. You know, dragons and El Chupacabra and stuff like that. The thing is though, there are also plenty of other mythical creatures out there that we don't hear about every day. Strange and interesting beasts from around the world that will surely make you check under your bed a second time before getting into bed at night. Stay tuned to number 1 to find out which one still has regular sightings reported today. Number 10. Hairy Hands, England. Back in the 1900s, in the English county of Devon, there were a series of accidents that suddenly began plaguing this stretch of road called Dartmoor. But these weren't normal car accidents, no. Here, cars and motorcycles would just suddenly lose control and crash off the road. While most survived, there were multiple people killed over the course of several years. One of the most famous of these was Dr. E.H. Helby, who was killed when his motorcycle and sidecar suddenly lost control and steered into a tree. His 2 daughters and the prison's governor were in the sidecar and survived the ordeal, but the accident gained a lot of media interest during the ongoing investigation. Just a few weeks after that, an incident where a coach lost control in the same spot, injuring a few of the passengers who were thrown out of their seats. Then, an army captain who crashed reported that a pair of hands had taken a hold of his motorcycle and veered him off the road into the ditch. His account was just one of many that reported seeing a pair of hairy and calloused hands suddenly appear and steer their vehicles off the road. In one case, a couple was camping in the area when the woman reported seeing a hairy hand move up the window. In a panic, she drew a cross on the window and the hand suddenly vanished. Although there is speculation that the accidents were caused by the uneven road surfaces in the area, some people still believe that this was indeed the disembodied hands that caused the accidents. Number 9. Ashieri Yashiki, Japan. If you thought that the disembodied hairy hands were an unusual mythical creature, it fails in comparison to what's next. According to Japanese mythology, the Ashieri Yashiki is a spirit that takes the form of a human foot, usually covered in blood or mud, and comes crashing through the ceilings of unsuspecting homes, demanding to be washed. Failure to wash the foot would cause misfortune within the household or even death to those who refused the task. So many chose to wash the foot. It would simply disappear back through the original hole, never to be seen again. Interestingly, the foot would be able to speak, despite just being a foot, with a loud, booming voice. Number 8. El Cuervo, Chile. For decades now, the Lacar Lake in Chile has reported sightings of a strange beast in the water, with people claiming that the beast has pectoral fins, like that of a stingray, that were about 5 feet across, with eyes on stalks like a snail's, and an extendable mouth like that of a mosquito. Eyewitnesses also claim seeing a row of razor-sharp claws along the fringe of the beast, which seemingly would be used to catch or trap prey, while its mosquito-like mouth sucked the blood out of their victim, human or otherwise. Dubbing it El Cuero, meaning leather or the cowhide, the local people avoided the lake due to the fear of El Cuero catching them and sucking them dry. Interestingly, this is not the only wild beast said to haunt the rivers and lakes in both Chile and Argentina, as creatures of a similar description have been spotted in both countries. The most famous of stories involving one of these beasts tells of a mother who was washing clothes down by a river while her child played in the water nearby, when suddenly the beast launched at him from the water, grabbing him and dragging him off into the water, never to be seen again. Many theories have arisen around the actual nature of El Cuero, with most believing that it is just an undiscovered species of stingray that has developed the claws as a defense mechanism over the years. We will let you decide for yourself. Number 7. Popobawa Tanzania. Said to be a shapeshifter, the Popobawa has been terrorizing the people of Tanzania since the 1960s, taking on both a human or bat-like form. According to believers in the Popobawa, it's the non-believers in the creature that are most frequently attacked, stating that it sneaks into your house into the night and attacks you while you're asleep. Then, if the victim of the attack doesn't tell people about it, it will return and attack more ferociously than the first time. Continuing to do so each night, it visits until you tell people about the attacks and admit your belief in the creature. Interestingly, the attacks seem to come in waves, and the community would be rocked by hundreds of visits a year and then not get a single visit for over several years before they start again. Skeptics in the Popobawa have looked into the scenarios surrounding each new wave of attacks and have realized that they seem to begin around the time of governmental elections, concluding that the rumors are staged by opposition parties in order to shake the public's confidence in their political party and entice the change of leadership. Although this may be an interesting answer to the sudden waves of attacks, it doesn't explain the countless records from people claiming to be attacked by the creature, nor does it explain why a political party would think that this would help their campaign. All we do know for certain is that this is one creature we don't want to be woken up by. Number 6. Tokoloshi, South Africa. While we're in Africa, there's another creature that has to be mentioned, partly because it's not even considered a myth by many people in rural South Africa, but instead, an actual physical being that exists. The first thing you need to know about a Tokoloshi is that it is said to be a very short humanoid, being around 4 feet tall, brown in color, and covered in hair. According to folklore, a Tokoloshi is created by cutting off a corpse's tongue and eyes before pushing a heated steel rod into the skull and putting a secret powder in its mouth, which then causes the corpse to shrink and turn into a Tokoloshi. The actual creation of a Tokoloshi must be done by a witch doctor, but anyone can request for it to be made. The price of this? A relative of yours will die within a year of the creature's creation. Typically, these are sent to people you don't like or would like punished in some way, and they can be used to carry out any request. They can be mischievous and wreak havoc around the recipient's home, or be used to bring misfortune on a family. People suffering from a Tokoloshi attack typically need to see their local witch doctor for help, who then instructs them to slaughter a goat in order to relieve them of the haunting and lift the curse from the family. Number 5. The Jersey Devil, New Jersey. The Jersey Devil has got a complicated and quite unbelievable beginning, even for a creature that has made it onto this list. As the story goes, there was a woman back in the 1700s known only as Mother Leeds. Upon finding out that she was pregnant with her 13th child, she was heard one night crying out, "And let this one be the devil." Her prediction came true, when a few months later, she gave birth to a baby boy. But not long after he was born, he began to change, growing wings on his back and horns from his head. Then he supposedly attacked and killed his own mother before turning on the midwives, killing them too, before flying off into a nearby swamp. Described primarily as a kangaroo-like creature with the face of a horse, the head of a dog, bat-like wings, horns, and a tail, the Jersey Devil has been said to prowl southern New Jersey for upwards of 250 years, and has been sighted countless times by countless people over those years. The Jersey Devil primarily attacks farm animals and raids chicken coops, and is said to have been seen in at least 50 different towns at various times in its existence. At one point, a bounty of $100,000 was offered for the capture of the creature, dead or alive. Sightings of the Jersey Devil continue even today, and no one is any closer to understanding what it could be. Do you think the Jersey Devil really exists? Let us know in the comments below. Number 4. Wendigo, Native America. As far as creatures that actively seek out human flesh goes, these are right near the top of the list. A Wendigo is said to be a creature that has stalked the greater American region for hundreds of years already. Found in the legends of many Native American tribes, a Wendigo was originally thought to be an evil spirit, but over time the description changed, and it is now said to form whenever someone resorts to cannibalism. Many tribes around the world believe that eating another man's flesh grants you a certain power, such as superhuman strength and speed, and that continuing to eat flesh eventually causes you to have a never-ending thirst for it, becoming less human until you slowly transform into a Wendigo. Standing at around 15 feet tall, a Wendigo is said to be an extremely thin and pale humanoid creature with sunken-in eyes and missing chunks of hair and skin. Over the years, there have been reported sightings of this strange beast by both Native American tribes as well as white settlers. And in the early 20th century, Jack Fiddler and his brother were arrested for the murders of 14 people who they claimed had turned into Wendigos, or were in the process of turning. Whether this is just a story from the past or an actual beast walking among us today, we may never know. But until that day, it might be a good idea to carry a silver knife with you at all times. You know, just in case. Number 3. The Yowie, Australia. Australia is already known as the proving grounds for man, where only the toughest survive while the weak retreat, tail between their legs to other countries. If it is dangerous, venomous, or poisonous, it lives in Australia and it wants to kill you. Yowies are just another addition you would need to make the already endless list. So far, they don't seem too special until you realize that they have supposedly been on the island for as long as the Aborigines, and that they are between 6 and 10 feet tall. Said to be compared to America's Sasquatch, the Yowie is a cryptid and has a hairy-like ape face with long talons for fingers. There are even cave paintings of these beasts in some of the old caves. And although many Australians don't acknowledge them, there are still Aboriginal tribes today that acknowledge their existence. Way back in 1788, when the first European settlers set foot on Australian soil, they were warned by the local Aborigines of the giant beast that lurked in the mountains. They weren't spotted, however, until 1849, when explorers reported seeing a 7 to 8 foot tall creature that resembled a cross between a baboon and a man sitting by a riverbed. Then in 1936, a photo arose which allegedly showed a large humanoid figure sitting on a log next to 2 men, appearing to be at least 8 feet tall. Although the picture is disputed by many, it is one of the most controversial pictures ever to arise from the land down under. Number 2. Nereids, Dominican Republic. Okay, I'll admit now that the title of this one was meant to confuse you, but Nereids are the original term for what we now call mermaids. Sure, you may think that mermaids are just a fairy tale, like a cyclops or a dragon, but there's some pretty solid proof of the possibility mermaids are out there. I mean, we're also discovering proof that cyclops and dragons may have existed, but we're not going to talk about those right now. First mentioned as Nereids way back in the 1st century, there was a book written by a Roman who wrote about creatures that were half human, half fish, whose top half was rough and covered in scales. Granted, he never saw them for himself, but he read it himself in another book which a French military officer wrote about seeing these creatures dead on a seashore. In 1493, Christopher Columbus also claimed to have seen 3 Nereids in the water of the Dominican Republic, stating that they were not as pretty as people had made them out to be, but were rather masculine and covered in scales. Fast forward to modern times, and there are literally hundreds of accounts of mermaid sightings over the past few hundred years. In addition to the recent documentary, The Body Found, a highly interesting documentary which does make some compelling evidence and even includes some creepy footage. We may never know the truth about mermaids though, and they will continue to be a barroom debate for many years to come. Number 1. Mothman America. The Mothman is one of the most interesting stories out there, hands down. With too many sightings and testimonies to mention in this video, it continues to amaze and confuse people even today. Said to be a giant, moth-like creature with glowing red eyes, it has been spotted countless times since its first known appearance in 1966. And it has even been spotted during times of huge tragedy, including the September 11th bombings. Yet, despite all the sightings and odd photos of this strange creature, it continues to evade understanding and belief. Point Pleasant in West Virginia has even erected a statue to this strange creature, and there is an annual festival devoted solely to the Mothman legend. Interestingly, in 2017 there were no fewer than 55 alleged sightings of the Mothman in Chicago alone, leaving people wondering if it has perhaps taken up residence nearby and making it difficult for skeptics to ignore. And there you have it, some of the strangest mythical creatures from around the world. What personal experiences have you had with something unexplained? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to ensure you keep up to date on all of our videos. Thanks for watching.